So for section 4.1, we are going to be talking about exponential functions, okay? So in the past, we have had equations that use x as our variable, and we were sending it to a power. So x squared, x cubed, things like that. So the difference here is we are now going to set a base called b here, and then we are going to be running through the power. So a base could be something like 2. So we'd be looking at 2 to the first, 2 squared, 2 cubed, 2 to the fourth. But there are other numbers that can also be used. So we've got, it's either going to be f of x, if we're talking about function notation, equals b to the x, or y equals b to the x. Now, a couple things here. B has to be a constant, okay? And it has to be a positive number. So the reason that we don't want it to be a negative number is, let's take an example like negative 2. Negative 2 to the first power is negative 2. Okay, so I'm going to put this over here on our whiteboard here. Okay, so if I do negative 2 to the first power, that answer is negative 2. If I do negative 2 squared, that's negative 2 times negative 2, which is positive 4. Negative 2 cubed is negative 2 times negative 2, which is positive 4 times negative 2, which is negative 8. Following this pattern, okay, and kind of processing that up, if you'll notice, we're going from negative answers to positive answers, negative answers to positive answers. And so when we talk about functions, okay, which is what this is designed to be, we have an issue with the fact that we're going back and forth between negative and positive, which means that according to our theorem that we talked about in the last one, where if we cross from negative to positive, we should hit 0. That doesn't actually occur, okay, as we're going through here. So therefore, we're going to have to keep it that this is going to have to be a positive number, okay? Now, the other thing is that b is not going to be the number 1, and that's because 1 is boring. 1 to the first is 1, 1 squared is 1, 1 cubed is 1. So we just start getting an answer of 1. Now, x, which is going to be up in our exponent spot, hence the name exponential function, can be any number that it wants to be. Positive, negative, decimal fraction, anything that it wants to be. Okay? So now, let's talk about how to evaluate with this, okay? So we've got the exponential function, 42.2 parentheses 1.56 to the x, okay? So our base here is the 1.56, okay, because that's the thing that the x is attached to, and this 42.2 is a multiplier out in front. Is the average amount spent in dollars after being at the mall for X hours. What is the average dollar amount spent to the nearest dollar after 3 hours? So they're wanting X to be 3, okay? Now, let me show you guys how to do this, okay? So if you're working with a TI-84 or an 83 type calculator, these are the steps that you would do. If you're working with a different calculator, we'll see some similar steps, okay? So if I'm doing this with a TI-84, I'm going to do basically type it in exactly the way that I see it. So 42.2, I'm going to use my parentheses, and I'll do 1.56, close my parentheses. Now, in order to get up to the exponent, I've got to use this caret button right here, okay? So it's right underneath the clear button. Now, mine shows that it actually pushes it up to the exponent. You may have, your particular calculator may just show you the little caret wedge, okay? And so I'm going to press enter. This was, so we got 160.208. It did want us to round to the nearest dollar. So we would say 160. Now, if you're working with a regular calculator that wasn't able to use parentheses and stuff like that, what you would start with first is you would do your 1.56. And there is going to be a button similar to this caret button. It may say Y and then the caret button X. It may just be the caret button. And so you're going to put 3 in there, okay? And so you get this, and then you would multiply that with the 42.2 that was up on the front end, okay? And you would still end up with that 160.287 that we got. So we'd still get an answer of 160, okay? Swap back over. So that's how you would evaluate with a particular calculator. And again, you have a couple of options just depending upon what your calculator allows you to do and how that's going to be able to process through.